Good morning, colleagues. Our guests are not here yet, so what I would suggest that we start our meeting and then approve the minutes. And when they come, we will immediately continue with discussions with the Commonwealth, members of that Parliament. But in the meantime, let's not waste time. I think everybody who wants to get coffee or a sandwich or something like that, if we can do that now, and then please, then we're going to continue. I will do the welcoming when they come in, but what I will do now is have a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Amen. Any apologies from members? Honorable Makula, don't you want to go and sit there in the front row, please? Yeah, in the first row, thank you. Colleagues, can we go to minutes? It would be item 5. The first one is 11th of March. Honourable Reddy?
Thank you, Chair. I see I've been recorded as being absent, but I recall sending my apology through. That will be changed to me.
Yeah, I also recall that. I think we didn't say that in the meeting because I think you sent it to me as well, and it was a little bit later, and I forgot to make that correction. Right, page 2. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, 8, and then the last page, page 9. No problems. Can we approve the minutes? Can I get a proposer? Stephen Moore, Honourable Moore. Can I have a seconder? Okay, we've got the seconder. Thank you very much. The next meeting is the 18th of March. Page 1. Page 2, page 3. I get a proposer. Honourable Reddy. Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Honourable Moore, thank you. Minutes of the 19th of March. Page 1, page 2, page 3, 4, page 5, and then the last page, page 6. Can I get a proposer? Thank you, Selu. A seconder, thank you, Honourable Reddy. The minutes is approved, and the last set of minutes is the 1st of April. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. page 4, and then the last page, page 5. Can I get a proposer? Honourable, thank you. Honourable Kobe? I don't know what my phone is trying to say, but anyway. Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Honourable Member. I know it's Gakilwe. No, Kobe proposed. Thank you. Yes, Honourable Member.
Chair, I don't want to disrupt the minutes, but one thing we actually asked for months ago now is a lot of our minutes contain requests for reports that come out within 7 days, 14 days, whatever the case is going to be, and we'd requested that as part of our minutes we start having a table of the outstanding reports. I know we got a bunch of them recently, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, but it was agreed in committee, if my memory serves correctly, that we would have within each set of minutes a table to say what is outstanding and what has been received. And I think that's important, Chair, because we do have a habit of some of these commitments happen and some don't necessarily happen. And whilst I agree with the minutes, I don't agree that necessarily everything that's been committed has happened.
Yes, Honourable Moore, but I don't think it should come with the minutes. It should come on every meeting we have. So it should be an item on the agenda with the outstanding reports. So, but because the minutes we only approve, and you know, then it's 3 months later, then we would like to see on a weekly basis that the reports, so there should be a permanent agenda item on the, Nosipu? A permanent point on the agenda, and then also include a report with the agenda. Honourable Member?
Chair, thank you very much. While, excuse me, while at that, I think in the last set of minutes, we are saying that we want to do oversight at various water boards. May I just request that in line with our support for the department last year, that a portion of the equitable share be withheld from municipalities that were overly indebted to the water boards, that July being one other opportunity for the equitable share, those municipalities that did not comply, we ensure that the department takes all the reasonable steps to confer with National Treasury to ensure that not a single one of those municipalities once again is not in a position to pay its portion of the equitable share to the water boards. I think just to conclude, Chair, you will know that there was a nominal amount of 50 million rand paid to Mahales and Val Central, and with such municipalities as Mangaung in the Free State in particular having paid not only their legacy account but the current one, that has helped to keep the water board there afloat. But that is not enough. There are still many more culprits, and I'm just saying, ahead of us visiting, Chair, we need to make sure that the July equitable share, that particular portion of the equitable share by various municipalities is indeed handed over to the water boards, so that when we go there, we find them in a better shape. Thanks.
As I understood from the department, the next tranche will be 66 municipalities. Tomani?
Good morning, Chairperson and members. Thank you very much. I just want to indicate that we have developed a resolutions tracking tool that we'll start using, I think, from next term. That will provide for what Honourable Moore has requested, that we need to have a track of all the resolutions to say how far we are, whether they've been responded to or not, and if they've been responded to, then we table those reports accordingly. So in that regard, we will start next term with a full tracking tool that will be accessible all the time. So members will receive it way ahead of the meeting. Thank you.
I understand that, but in the meantime, can we from next week just get it then in writing, and then when the tool has been implemented, then we got that then on the system. Whilst you were on the floor, I would like to congratulate you with your appointment. We did that in your absence last time, but from our side as the new content advisor of the Portfolio Committee, we want to congratulate you. You've been in this water sector for many years now, and you've got big shoes to fill with the previous member that went on pension, but I know that you've got the experience and the will to fill that shoes. Thank you very much for availing yourself of that position, and so that we didn't get someone else from outside that didn't understand the working of this committee. So let's give him a hand of applause. You just need to inform us where the party will be afterwards, so we can just change our arrangements. Baie geluk hoor. Selu?
Joining you, Chair, in congratulating him. You're saying that he's been in the sector for a very long time, so it looks like he's never drowning. He keeps swimming in the water. So that's very good. But I don't know, from the veteran content person that left, whether we could possibly exploit Elon Musk's Neuralink and transfer content of what the retired person has to him, so that he has that in his memory.
He worked with Shireen Dawood for many years, so he also knew how she thought about things. But from our side, congratulations, and well deserved. Are they here? Right. Whilst we, can we now go to point 6? Committee report on the second and third quarter performance. Tomani, are you going to present that?
Yes, Chairperson.
Please don't read it through unless someone wants us to read it through. If you can maybe just give us the gist of that, and then we can decide whether we would like to approve it. We had it beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much for the well wishes in my new position. The report summarizes the presentation of the briefing on the first and the second and the third quarterly expenditure reports for the department for the year under review. And without any further ado, I think I will just go into the section number 2, which provides the second and third quarterly expenditure reports, and as the table in 2.4, it summarizes the progress as of those quarters, and the areas of underperformance were listed, as well as the strategies that the department indicated that they would use to regain the lost ground or the targets that they could not meet during the term. And members were happy with those strategies, as indicated on the far right of that table. So I will now move to the committee observations. And the observation number 1 relates to strategies in place to increase current access to potable water and projected timelines for universal access. And I think from there onwards, it's all the observation that the committee made. So there were no really controversial issues that required a lot of discussions. But Section 4 provides the responses to the observations that the committee made. And at the end of the report, we indicate that the committee noted and appreciated the responses from the department on the second and third quarterly expenditure reports, and the report is to be noted. The report is to be noted because there are no recommendations that were made which needed to be discussed further. So which means the committee from here onwards, then it's either they adopt the report or reject it. If they adopt it, then it goes to ATC. Then it will go to the House for noting without debate. So that is what it means. If the report is going to be noted, it means you will not have to debate it in the House. So it will just be noted and it will be in the records. And that is because the report does not have the recommendations that requires substantial responses from the department. So I don't know whether members would like me to go through the responses as they were given in response to the observations.
Honourable Reddy.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and I want to thank the subject advisor,
Content advisor.
For his input and also for the report. I need to point out that MK Party will not support this. We want this to go to the full House for a full debate. We have concerns. We also have amendments that we want to propose. So I would like for us to have that opportunity at this forum where we could engage on the quarter report, second and third quarter report. Thank you.
We take note of that. Honourable Kobe.
Thank you, Chair. Also noting the report, and thank you very much. But as Action SA, we would like this report to go to the House and to be debated. Thank you.
Tumani, we can request that to the House.
Yes, which means we'll just change to be noted to be considered.
Thank you very much.
Then it will be debated.
100%, not a problem. Any other member? Yes, Honourable Makula.
Could you take somebody else because I still
Okay. Honourable Ditebe.
No, Chair, nami ngihambisana nakho ngoba phela njengoba sila sithunywa abantu funa sihambe siye kwi-house yabo bese ngiba nombuzo ngididekile yes ngifika late kodwa manje ngiyaxakeka ngibona neyibonga engazazi oluzi amaflege lase UK South Africa angazi kwenzakalani ngithi angazi noma mhlambe ngempela lelizwe selidayisiwe nawe Chair ngikubonisa ukame ngenye indlela nje kanti ongakazi wakuhlaba angisakuboni kahle sungathi le ndoda ke yaphesheya.
Chair, I also agree with them. As we are here, we are representing people, so we must debate it in the House. Also, Chair, I understand that I was late, but I would like to ask, I see the South African flag and the UK flags and the names, even apparently you, Chair.
No
today have-
EFF flag.
Apparently you have a different hairstyle today that makes you look like some
Sifane ka Trump manje.
person. She says you look like Donald Trump today.
Honourable Ditebe.
Chair, we certainly don't have a problem in debating the report, except that as far as I'm aware, there isn't any specific amendment moved by the member there. I think most of the parties are agreed on the report being debated, but certainly not on the amendment. So as far as the debate is concerned, we do not have a problem. But Chair, perhaps on a lighter note to say, we're not back to 1910 you know, we are post 27 April 1994, so your hairstyle must not alarm anybody.
Honourable Reddy.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, let me just explain this the way we understand it. Now, for a matter, for a recommendation to go to the plenary to be debated means that there has to be disagreement or an amendments that's proposed at the committee. You don't just say we want to take this item and debate it without there being a discussion at the PC level, which is here, and where we are able to interrogate the report and come up with amendments, because that's what gets debated. To just say we want this matter debated, for what? Because like the content advisor stated, he said that if there's agreement, if the report can, let me just stop there, let me not air our dirty linen in public.
Okay, can we just, I totally agree, it is true. So we've already discussed this. This is the minutes of this is the document after we have already discussed this matter. So you may disagree and debate it in Parliament. It's 100%, there's no, we don't differ from you. So what we then do is we say we accept this report, and then you will go and debate it in Parliament. Thank you.
We do not accept the report.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
We can minute that the three parties do not accept the report, but the committee accepts the report, the majority of the committee members. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for visiting Parliament, and especially Water and Sanitation. We are delighted to see you and would like to hear from you ideas and questioning the committee. This committee is Water and Sanitation, as you would know, and therefore we look at oversight role of the water sector in the Republic of South Africa, and then also we look at our investments in Lesotho with the Lesotho Highlands scheme. But from our side, thank you very much for being here, and I'm going to forward you the opportunity to introduce your panel, and then I would introduce the panel from Parliament.
Well, thank you very much for that welcome. Apologies for being late. My name's Sai Kamal. I'm a member of the House of Lords. We are here as a delegation from the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association UK branch to come here to your country to learn from you and to meet various committees with various expertise. For this discussion, I think I will hand over to my colleague, Dr. Brian Matthews, who is an expert in this area and has worked in this area for many years. Brian, please.
May I just interject for 1 second,
Yes.
Chair? Do I refer to this as English time?
I should very quickly say my background, culturally, we have Caribbean time and Asian time, which is known as not as prompt as others. Let's put it that way.
May I ask, before you start, just to introduce your team that's with you?
Okay. I'll very quickly introduce. Yeah, we'll go down. Why don't you go? I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thanks very much, and apologies from me as well for our lack of punctuality for English time. I'm Gerard Lemos, and I'm a member of the Upper House, the House of Lords, and I sit on the Labour benches, the government benches.
Thank you very much. I'm Graham Downey. I'm a Labour Member of Parliament in Scotland, actually, so definitely not English time, very much Scottish time in my case. I'm a Member of Parliament for Dunfermline Dollar, which is just north of Edinburgh.
Great. I'm Brian Matthew. I'm Member of Parliament for Melksham and Devizes. I'm a Liberal Democrat, and I was elected, along with many of us, actually all of us, I think, from the House of Commons side, just in July last year, and it's an absolute pleasure to be back in South Africa. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Rebecca Cooper. I am the MP for Worthing, which is an area on the south coast of England. As Brian said, we were all elected last July. My background is in public health, and I'm a medical doctor, so it's a pleasure to be here with the committee today. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jacob Luce. I manage the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association UK branch's Africa work. We were in South Africa 2 years ago. It's so fantastic to be back. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lucinda Mayer and I'm a clerk in the House of Commons. I'm currently the deputy head of the legislation office in the House of Commons, but I've worked there for over 20 years, including as a select committee clerk.
Thank you very much. We are also elected last year. Some of us for second term, some of us for third term. So, yeah. So I'm Leon Basson. I'm the chairperson of this portfolio committee. And I think what will come out, I represent the Democratic Alliance, and I think every member here will also give their affiliation, so that you can see we are a multi-party committee running the affairs of water and looking after water, not politically, but as not from our parties, but individually as well. Honourable Reddy.
Thank you, Chairperson. Maybe if you could, at some point, allow them, take about 5 minutes, explain this concept of Lord, and the only Lord I know is Lord Jesus Christ. So Lord, High House, and Commons, and common people, and so on. So if they could give, my name is Visvan Reddy. I represent Umkhonto we Sizwe Party here in Parliament, and it is indeed a pleasure having you here with us. Thank you very much.
My name is Nati Ngumalo, member of this portfolio committee. I represent the MK party. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to South Africa. My name is Stephen Moore. I'm one of the MPs from Gauteng and I'm a member of the Democratic Alliance.
Good morning and a very warm South African welcome to you all. My name is Malevo Gobe. I represent Action SA in this portfolio committee and also newly appointed as an MP last year in July. Good to have you all.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Ramaila. I represent the African National Congress as an MP in the National Assembly. You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. You are welcome in South Africa. My name is Betty Kehakilwe. I'm representing African National Congress. I'm a member of the Parliament and of this portfolio committee. Thank you.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to the delegation. I come from that entity called the African National Congress, which happened to go to Britain in 1919 to petition the government to protect the interests of black people here. So yeah, here we are, post April 27, 1994, we are free. And you're most welcome in this free South Africa. My name is Lodi Tebe. Thank you.
Good morning, my colleagues. I can say colleagues. Ginbongo balana siyanamukela. Mina I'm a member of Parliament and presenter economic freedom fighter. Emele abantu abanswempu abahluphekayo la eSouth Africa ngeyidingo zabo abasacindezelwe kulelizwe abangenawo ngisho amanzi njengoba ngikhuluma nani nje. Ngiyabonga.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. We welcome you to South Africa. My name is Sibongile Kaula, an MP representing the Economic Freedom Fighters, which is still representing the black majority who are still poor, who are still oppressed, and some who, as we speak right now, do not even have water. Thank you.
Are you showing the organization now?
I did.
You're fighting with your own translator.
No,
That's a problem. Honourable Mbiku?
You must repeat.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you very much. And my name is Fezeka Mbiko. I'm an MP from the Democratic Alliance, newly appointed in October last year. Welcome to South Africa.
Thank you.
Right, and then maybe just Tamani.
Good morning. My name is Tomani Manungfara. I'm a content advisor for the Portfolio Committee. Thank you.
And they are my...
Good morning. My name is Nosipho Bavuma, the Committee Secretary.
And on my right?
Good morning. My name is Kaya Vilim. I'm the Executive Secretary to the Chairperson.
I think that's the team that's here. And the content advisor, can you maybe just indicate who you are to the members? Sorry, my apology, the translator.
Good morning. My name is Nhlanhla Hlombe. I provide translation services for the member. Thank you.
And the last member that I forgot, thank you, Nosipho. Talent.
Good morning. My name is Talent CBC, the Committee Assistant.
And then the two members there.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Zingisa Gawe. I'm working for Parliament International Relations Section. We facilitate these kinds of engagements. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is June Kuzwayo. I'm also from International Relations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Would you like to introduce yourself? Thank you very much. Right, thank you very much. I think now we know each other. Maybe you wouldn't remember the name. That's why we've got tags. But I can't see the tags at the bottom, so I will just facilitate the meeting. Can I then ask the reason for your visit, overview of that, and then we can have a discussion. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We are members of the UK branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. As you know, all members of Parliament, whether they're in the House of Lords or the House of Commons, are automatically qualify, and some of us do more than others on the with the CPA. Just to very quickly answer your question, it's a very long answer to the difference between the Lords and the Commons, but in simple terms, look at the Lords these days mostly as appointed senators, effectively. We are a revising chamber. But the lower house or the elected house has precedence, particularly when it comes to financial matters. But we revise once a bill's gone through the Commons. Usually, it comes to the Lords. The advantage of the Lords in many ways is the expertise it has on all benches in particular areas. So, for example, when I was a health minister, there were many more people in the House who understood health more than I ever would, because they were eminent surgeons, eminent nurses, etc. So that's in simple terms. We, as part of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, some of you will be members as well of your local branch. We have delegations. We receive incoming delegations from other Commonwealth countries, and we go obviously visit, as we do in this case. And this is really just to exchange ideas, to learn from you. I've already learned quite a bit this morning in our earlier meeting, and just bringing people together to have for mutual respect, but also gives you a chance to question us as British parliamentarians, so we can learn some of the issues that you care most about, not only in this committee but more generally. I'll stop there and I'll hand over to my colleague Dr. Brian Matthew, because he has worked in this space for many years, and I think he'd be a most appropriate person to lead our delegation on this. Please.
Is that okay? Thank you. Well, WASH obviously is an absolutely vital area: water supply, sanitation, hygiene, all of these things. And I should start by saying that we've just come from actually what you could call a drought-ravaged country, because we've had no rain for the last 6 weeks and more. That may well change as soon as we get back. So it's kind of, just to show you that these issues of climate change actually are affecting the whole planet. My perspective as a WASH expert prior to getting involved in first local politics and then national politics was that about 20 years ago I was here in South Africa, and at that stage there was some very interesting developments happening here in this country regarding water and free water. I think it was 6 cusecs of water, 6 cubic meters of water, which was supposed to be provided free. I realise, and the point has been made, that many people in South Africa still don't have access to sufficient water. I think it would be really interesting if we could kick off with some discussion on that and how far South Africa has developed over this last period of 20 years and how you are getting to solve those vital problems of water in this country.
Thank you. So the question is, how do we deal with water to communities that in the past did not have water, and the 6 kiloliters of water that is free? Would like to start on that, Selu? Would you like to, Honourable Ditebe, would you like to start the discussions on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. Once again, my name is Selu Ditebe. In recognition of our very difficult past, where legislation was specifically enacted to immiserate people, dispossess them, and all of that, the post-1994 democratic government decided that, among other things, there will be what's called the free basic services that would be in respect of electricity and water. And so in respect of water, in this instance, indigent households would then be provided with free basic water, but the requirement would be for municipalities in different wards to then register such households that meet that particular threshold, so that no one is then deprived of that basic right, because it is enshrined in the Constitution, Section 27 of 1996, the South African Constitution, which I believe is amongst the most progressive in the world. Although, of course, there are always underlying challenges with regard to logistics resources to ensure that the ideals that are encapsulated in the Constitution are indeed realized. The Constitution, the drafters of our Constitution in many ways, I believe, were very prescient in that they said these socioeconomic rights in particular would be attained on a progressive basis. So as you will understand, there being fiscal and economic constraints, and South Africa not being alone in this difficult situation, from time to time we have to do some adjusting, etc., with in particular fiscal resources. But of course, the long-term solution is for spurts of economic growth that must be sustained, especially on high levels, so that then we can meet those particular socioeconomic rights that are enshrined in the Constitution on a progressive but expeditious basis in particular. So that is what government does, but of course alongside that you will appreciate that we have the incidence of non-revenue water, particularly within the realm of reticulation of that water. We have water boards that work with water service authorities that ensure that municipalities are provided with bulk water. And of course, we provide, from the vantage point of oversight as the Portfolio Committee, support to the department and by extension to the water boards, so that they remain liquid, are going concerns, and can indeed fulfill their legal and constitutional obligations. I hope, Chairperson, that I have responded to that question. Thanks.
Honourable Moore, would you like to add? And Honourable Reddy, would you also like to add? Right, Honourable Moore.
Good morning. Just quickly, I want to say, in terms of the House of Lords is very much equivalent to our NCOP, so you can understand it very much in that form. That's our upper house. So with regards to your thing, 20 years, actually, we have a good story to tell. Around 20 years ago, so 2003, we were looking at about 79% of South Africans getting water from piped water. Now, obviously, there's various levels of supply because we have a large rural population. But come now 2003, which is the last stats I quickly double-checked, we're now up to 89%. So that's a very good track. And you also have to understand that that's while our population has increased. So the actual absolute number of people who've been improved in terms of providing that water is about 20 million people. So we provide more water than the population had 20 years ago. And I suppose that's our big challenge at the moment, is we're in a race with a growing population, as a lot of Commonwealth countries, obviously not so much the UK, but a lot of the rest of the Commonwealth are in a constant race of infrastructure versus the ability to build infrastructure to cope with population growth. But there is a good story to tell. It's slowing a bit at the moment for various reasons. NRW, non-revenue water, just for information, is broken down into two components. That's the, call it leaks, so your actual technical losses, which makes up a large chunk of some of our cities. To give you an idea, the highest non-revenue water we have is 85% in one of our municipalities. So it's a mix between leaks and it's a mix between stolen water or free water. The free water is obviously an important component of NRW, but the thestolen water in other various forms is a bit of a challenge. And when you have major municipalities like eThekwini, which you guys may know as Durban, their non-revenue water is about 60%. So 60% of their water is not paid for. And you can understand fiscally, in terms of running a multi-million person population city, that creates a great challenge for us. But obviously that's we've recently had, a month or two ago, we had a water in Durban specifically because our water team is having to work closely with our Department of it's called COGTA, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, which is our national entity that deals with local municipalities. And we're having to work very closely with them, because the reality is at a national level, doesn't matter what we do with water, if at a local level the water's being squandered. And Chair, I just want to throw a little extra element in here, just for a personal thing around, in terms of things we can chat about. It's not just about what we can learn. I know there's some immediate, you mentioned you guys are having a drought. I know London is very similar to Johannesburg. They're our largest cities, your largest, our largest. And your water entity is having trouble. Yours is a privatized version. Ours is it's called a municipal-owned entity, so it is a privatized version, but it's completely owned by the city of Johannesburg, but it still doesn't operate as a direct government department. And in the same way, you guys have been having some challenges over there with your department. Johannesburg Water is having its own challenges. And I think, considering that's a very direct application of our two largest cities with water entities with real challenges, there are definitely real lessons potentially we can learn in both directions, because obviously this is a major focus when 10% of our population, I think London's even bigger than for your population than Johannesburg is for us, but 10% of our population is affected by that one city. And to be honest with you, Johannesburg's usage of water brings down the entire of Gauteng, which is about a third of our entire population in terms of the leaks that they lose, about 575 million litres of potable water a day to leaks alone. So we've got things to share, and I'm really excited to have you here, because I think this is a valuable relationship to look into learning, and that's what the whole Commonwealth Association is really about. So thank you.
Already?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for visiting South Africa. I think from what I heard you, Lord Kamali, what you said, the House of Lords is not elected. It is something that's appointed. And then you have people with particular expertise that serves on the House of Lords. So when you get a recommendation or a law, a legislation that comes from your elected House, it comes to you for scrutiny before it is finally, and that's vastly different from the NCOP as we have it. Our NCOP is the National Council of Provinces. It's not an upper house to the current house. It represents mostly other provinces, and they are directly elected. So that is the difference. And I think it is also good for us to be able to understand the public representative system under which we operate, because it varies, and we have come out of the South African Constitution, which was a document that was put together as a compromise kind of document. My colleague says it's the most progressive in the world. I'm not so sure about that, but that's the exciting part about Parliament. We're allowed to disagree with each other around issues, and that's what we constantly fight about. I must say that I watch your Parliament, and I think your Parliament is very... it's very, Yeah, no, dynamic is like mild. I mean, we become so so formal in our engagements in Parliament, and I look at you guys and I say that's like a war zone out there. Really, I mean, if they had, that's them.
You
If
should
they
see
had-
the Australian Parliament.
Yeah, I have, and even the Indian Parliament. I mean, that's robust kind of debate to the extent that they'll want to virtually hit each other and run across the table and do things like that. But interesting, very interesting. Now, when it comes to the Constitution of South Africa, it basically guarantees that water is a basic right. So that is the fundamental, the most important, highest law in the country. So we as representatives in government, we must ensure that this water becomes accessible to everybody, or we'll find ourselves in a legal challenge with the human rights organizations and others, because there is a basic right and people do not access it. So what we cannot deny is the history that we've come from in this country, the apartheid history. And often we tend to not speak about this because some in our house will want to believe that this doesn't exist. But the truth of the matter is that we are facing a lot of the challenges today because of apartheid planning. Apartheid planning was such that you had infrastructure, first world infrastructure that was developed for the white communities. And then the black communities did not have the luxury of having the Rolls-Royce kind of system. I come from eThekwini in Durban, where I served on the mayoral committee for 17 years, 5 of which I was responsible for water provision. It's called the Infrastructure Committee. And in Durban, would you believe this, you had one set of pipes that were built specifically for white neighborhoods that will carry, what's the word for shit? Sewage. So the sewage will also not mix. The sewage, that's apartheid. You could not allow the sewage from white suburbs to mix with black suburbs. So we've got that kind of network that existed in Durban. And then I also served for 11 years on the water board. It's the second largest water board in the country, now called Umgeni Utugela. So the water boards, it's a direct responsibility of this committee. We engage directly with water boards, and water boards in turn deal with municipalities. So we've developed over the years, after democracy, wall-to-wall coverage of governance in the country, because we had a fragmented system in South Africa where you had some areas, mostly the white suburbs, that had first-class, first-world services. And then you go into the black communities, and if I gave you a breakdown of the racial dynamics in this country, 84% of the population of South Africa are black people who never had any access and opportunity to this type of clean water, electricity, and so on. And so it became a responsibility of this government from the time of Nelson Mandela to now create an equal form of service delivery to everybody. And that's where the challenges came up. So our biggest challenge right now is aging infrastructure, because we've got infrastructure that was not built to feed water to 100% of the population. It was built state-of-the-art. If you go back into history during the apartheid years, you'll find that the best infrastructure was used to provide services to white suburbs. And now we're using that infrastructure to provide services like water to the rest of the population, 84%. And so the cost factor to replace these and to build them so that we can accommodate new communities and new suburbs, mostly the township areas, is what is causing our infrastructure in this country to collapse. I got a bit worried, Chair, when the Honourable Lord there, is it Lord Graham? Okay, when he mentioned that they've got a problem in UK of water. And it's generally not like that. People who come from, you said that there's droughts. Who was it? It was yourself, Dr. Brian. You said there's droughts there. Generally, when people come from the UK to South Africa, they don't give us their problems. They hear our problems and they give us money. So I was hoping we we're going to get money from them, but they're coming to us with problems. And I'm worried about that, Dr. Brian. So we want to give you our problems, and you give us money. So this is basically where we are currently. And we're grappling with this because we've got communities that are not getting water. Now, my colleague there, Honorable Moore, he spoke to you about non-revenue water. The non-revenue water is not just because of theft of water. It's because municipalities, because of the constitutional provision that says everybody has to have access to water, they've put up standpipes in informal communities. So people will get access to this water. That water is not being metered and it's not being paid for. And as a result of that, we are finding that we are losing billions of rands worth of water through what we call non-revenue water in this way. Until we are able, and the issues are not so simple, because remember, we want everybody to pay for the service. But we live in a country today where our unemployment rate, especially among the youth, is the highest in Africa. Our poverty levels are reaching around 55% in South Africa. So it's easier said than done to say that people will now have to come and pay. How do they pay when they have no income? They have no jobs. So these are issues that we're hoping that you can help us with, create jobs in our country, deal with the issues of poverty, invest in industrialization in our country. Because when we start to deal with these, then we will find... Sorry, am I... No. I just wondered.
You wanted to say you've got to conclude now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Yeah, he's my colleague from MK. So that's basically what, and as a party, as MK party, we are radical in our approach. And the reason why we came into this political scene in such a short space of time, within literally 6 months of campaigning, President Zuma is the leader of our party. We were able to gain over 58 seats, no, 55 seats, 58 seats in the National Assembly. And the reason for that is that the people out there are now desperately seeking a radical solution to a problem. Remember, we are in democracy now for close on to 30 years. I thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we should stay away from the politics, otherwise the fight will be on this side of the road. Colleagues, I think
would be entertaining.
What we did say to you, or what you have heard today, is that we've also got challenges. And as members have mentioned, that infrastructure is a big challenge, the maintenance of infrastructure. And because that lies with local government, we are another sphere of government. And to get through to local government to make sure that they do maintenance, we've got to change the method in how we finance local government. And we are looking at that. So at the moment, we've got about 25 billion rand. Please don't take that to pounds. It's nothing, but in our currency, 25 billion rand that is owed to water boards. And the water boards are not funded. They're self-sufficient, so they need that money. And we have now developed a method, and it came from this committee, that we attach the equitable share that they receive from government. And they need to, out of that, the water boards are paid. So they get 3 tranches of money. I'm correct, it's 3 tranches. Yeah, 3 tranches. The next one is in July. And I think there's about 66 municipalities that National Treasury will attach that money, make sure the water boards are paid, and then pay the balance to the municipalities. So that is a challenge that we have in the country. Our water losses is much too high. We're also a water scarce country, 30th in the world. That's why we've invested so much money into the Lesotho Highland scheme, where we've built dams and currently still building a new dam to get water to Gauteng. Rand Water, that is the biggest, is over 100 years old in South Africa. They produce about 5,000 megaliters of water per day. and they're struggling at the moment to supply because of the water leakages, and that is the biggest challenge in this country at the moment, to get our drinking water safe from going down the drain. And then the second challenge we have in the country is the wastewater treatment works that is polluting our rivers, and downstream someone extracts water to clean for drinking purposes, and that becomes expensive. So we've got a big challenge in the country, and we eat this elephant piece by piece. That is where we more or less are in our challenges. What we tried, which worked in the Western Cape, was the people in the Western Cape became water wise. So they halved their water usages when they had this day zero. They halved their water usages, and it's still there. So the people became water wise, but in Gauteng, we are trying to get that. But if you don't enforce that from your municipal level, then you will not, because it's not popular to ask more for water and have people restricted to water. So that is a challenge there. It's a lack of political will, but because there's still a lot of water and people get 3 or 4 days in a week they don't have water because of the fact that water goes through leakages, we lose that water. But yeah, and then there's other challenges in rural areas where rural areas also expand and we can't get fast enough. And then I think our biggest problem is corruption. Corruption in this country has devastating effect on the water sector. We've got a problem with the tankering mafia. So you maybe what we do is when with these pipe breakages, they will go out on tankers to deliver water to the community, and then you will find that these mafia, they are the people that's causing the problem. They breaking the pipes or damaging pumps and stuff just to get tankers going, and we are looking at this at the moment, and we are putting hard pressure on government or on the Department of Water and Sanitation to force municipalities to buy their own tankers, so that you don't have a private company or water mafia tanker company that supplies the water and makes sure they will supply that forever, because as soon as you fix the pipe, it breaks again the next day, so the tankering can go ahead. So that's the kind of challenges that we are facing, especially in this committee, and trying to get our local government on board, the parliamentary portion of that COCTA, to force municipalities to do stuff. Because we are, as water and sanitation, we are supplying bulk water. We are not reticulating water in municipalities, but that becomes our problem at the end of the day, because I said the other day, because water is in the name of the department, the members of parliament and everybody, they will call you to say, we've got a pipe leak and we've got no water. They don't go to COCTA, they come to water and sanitation. And we don't have a mandate. That's not our mandate. Our mandate is to save or to secure and prevent and secure and, preserve water. This is my second language. I'm Afrikaans, like you. Maybe I should speak in Afrikaans and then you learn Afrikaans as well. But anyway, that is more or less the challenges that we face. But I think we are starting to win. And as a member said, what we now need in this country is more jobs. We've got to pick up the economy, get people to work, and if people work, they will pay for water, and it's got this knock-on effect eventually. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Ngibonge Chair ezuchaza eqinisweni thina inkinga zamanzi asinazo la eSouth Africa because sinazo izintaba ngiyacabanga akekho ngazi ukuthi intaba ikhiqiza amanzi imfula yonke lesinayo iqhamuka ezintabeni ngafunda kanjalo esikoleni into esilimaza la eSouth Africa thina ugovernment wethu ama researcher nawo akekho strong noma akawuthandi kwenza umsebenzi wawo ama official ingakho nibona ama strike i-truck engaka mhlambe yabona kushisa imigwaqo kukhalwa ngamanzi like kojozini kuvalwa imigwaqo kuphi ingenxa yokuthi thina sinenkinga yokuthi abantu bathi bona bafundile bagcina ngamaphepha kuphela kodwa mase kufanele bayokwenza umsebenzi phansi abakwazi ukuwenza one khona into engizoyisho la ekhulwe ngiyithanda isho uchair although uchair wethu usekhuluma kancane akusefani njengoba engakabi uchair lana amanzi ngisaphinda ngiyasho asinayo inkinga yamanzi sinenkinga yabantu okufuneka babheke ukuthi yini ufuna bayenze akade beyifunda esikoleni bazoyenza practical bayigcine kuyenza ngamaphepha one into esishayayo kunabantu abathi mase befikile la sebengena ema-ofisini bakhohlwe umphakathi bayicabangele bona ngoba lezi drug zibangwa ibona ngokuthi bahlangana noso contract oso contract laba bona bayicabangele bona nema family abo bathumela abantu ukuthi lamanzi wona ke lawa asekhona ke bahambe babulala amapayipi lawo mapayipi ukuze kungena ama truck abo sihlushwa yilabantu okuthiwa amadela ngokubona lamadela ngokubona aqala eThekwini asesabalele all provinces 9 provinces yala eSouth Africa ngangothi even manje uhulumeni ugcina kwayena esenenkinga ngani la eSouth Africa umthetho wakhona awukho strong mhlazana ugovernment wala eSouth Africa wayeka lento yamathenda no one uyophinda khala ngamanzi amanzi akhona abanqamula bona ngamabomu ngenxa into eyi-1 nje ukuthi kugeyine labantu bama-Vaterkan abanye sinabo la eParliament njoba sikhala nabo futhi usizi esibhekene nalo la eSouth Africa because ugovernment akekho strong akakho yedwa owenza ngayo isibonelo abathatha ababophe once baboshwa bonke labo bantu kuba right once ugovernment wayeka ukuthenderisha ngemsebenzi yakhe
in all the 9 provinces. This is also assisted by the tender system, which is doing quite a lot to cripple the provision of water in South Africa. And some of us, some of those people are amongst us in this very parliament. Government has a duty to stop the tendering system, also try and minimize the using of or the usage of private companies. And as a last point, I'm happy that you are here. Then you can see, as sometimes maybe you'd be watching the South African Parliament and you'd see us being fighting or being rude to one another, but that's because we are trying to root out some of the corrupt elements within ourselves, within our system. And those people need to be arrested. It should not just end there. They should also be sentenced or even incarcerated if it has to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Tamale, you will be the last person.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to concur with what Makaula has just said, that this country, it doesn't really have a water. It's not, to a certain extent, it's true that it's a water scarce country. But in the main, the problem is that the wrong decisions at the municipality level that are being taken, whereby you'll find that there are persistent water cuts because of, like it has been said, because of corruption that is crippling the supply of water. Like for instance, last week on Thursday in my hometown, on Friday, we had a protest march which I organized against the municipality's failure to provide water constantly. And to prove that the problem was not because there was no water, it was because some people are doing this deliberately because when there is no water, you'll find that some people are happy because they'll make money out of that situation. And as we were marching on the streets of Ladysmith in KZN, we got some reports that in some parts of the town, the municipality has been sending messages to communities saying that in certain part of this town, the water has been restored. We had like about 4 or 5 areas, very big areas, where water was restored as we were marching. And people had not had water. Some of them had not had water for months. But on the day that we started marching, taking to the streets, water was restored. Even those in some it's a very huge district, even though some of them had not had the water restored, but it was very encouraging to see water in those parts being restored. And I was also told that the reason why in some areas had some water supply problem is because the water pumps, because on that part of the country we are getting underground water. The water pumps that were brought in were second-hand, 6 water pumps were second-hand water pumps. So their lifespan had come to an end. Now the sad part with that is that when those second-hand pumps were delivered and installed, the municipality was not charged the price of a second-hand pump, but instead the municipality was charged the price of a new pump. That's how devastating, that's how terrible or rife the corruption is, yes. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we don't really have a problem with water. The water, it's because the decisions that people are making at the municipality level. As the chair has earlier indicated, that there's water tank mafias. That's a problem. And these people are so ruthless. They can even kill if you stand on their way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. And what I'd like to do, if I may, is respond a little bit and then invite my colleagues if they want to say a few words. And I think after that, there's a suggestion that there's some coffee and perhaps we can have some individual discussions.
Sorry, before you respond, I want to add, Lana, Chair. Ngoba angithi ama visitor la funa bazi impilo ethu South Africa. But second things, la South Africa from 1994 when sithola inkululeko. Inkululeko esayithola sa shawa ngemfe eyomile. Asi iSouth Africa ayu own umhlaba. iSouth Africa ayiwa own amanzi. Kanjalo nezimbiwa. So ezinye izinto ezithina sila eParliament. Uthi mawufika khona uyibuze ukuthi njengoba sila eSouth Africa yini thina ngempela as Parliament la eSouth Africa esionayo. Lakhe nje uchair engakabi uchair njoba ngisho uchair ngilimele mina njengoba esewuchair bekwazi ukufight. Sasise Netherlands ku study tour. Laba babeyibuza khona ukuthi why thina sithi siyarula lesiphethe la eSouth Africa kodwa asikwazi ukona amanzi. Amanzi la asaphethwe yizalukwazi zakudala kwayena uchair engazazi. Sake sayibiza kuleli committee kuno chairperson uLulu Johnson. Sithi sifuna ukubheka ukuthi obani laba baphethe amanzi ababi sagcina sikhuluma kanje after sefana basiphendula ama questions asifuna ukuba ubuza kubona azange baphinde sibathola yinkinga ezinye esinazo la eSouth Africa. That's why I say asina inkinga yamanzi thina although zikhona igebingu but inkinga yamanzi eSouth Africa thina sikwazi kwaona umhlaba ilokhu zimbiwa siku-own lezo zinto. Ngiyabonga.
Sorry, just to interject before you give your replies. As you are visitors, you must know how we live here in South Africa. Since 1994, the freedom that we got was actually a lie in the sense that South Africa does not own its own land, South Africa does not own water and the minerals and an array of other things amongst those. As we are now here in Parliament, we ask ourselves, what do we actually own as a country? Like the chair, I was quite hurt before he was made a chair because he could fight. I remember at the time we went to Netherlands and they asked us, how can we say we are ruling if we cannot say we own some of the things, or we cannot really give a clear directive of what happens in some of the things. We have called some of these people who owned these things here. To mention just one, there was a lady by the name of Lulu Johnson that was once called, but when the questions got tougher, we couldn't really get answers from them. So that is the reality of the country.
Lulu wasn't a lady, it was a gentleman.
Well.
All right, colleagues, we will give it to you now, and if there's follow-up questions, we will allow that. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much indeed, and thank you all of you for your honesty in terms of looking at the problems, because unless one actually is prepared to talk about the problems, you can never solve the problems. So that is I think, really important and useful. I would, from our side, just add another problem that we are facing in the UK that you may well also be facing here, but it's one that has really hit in terms of criticism of the water companies in the UK, is the amount of sewage that is getting into rivers and streams, which is really important because that is the environment in which we all have to live. And I'm sure that's probably also a problem here, and it is something that has to be addressed for the future, for the benefit of everyone. But one point I might just add, you've obviously made some great strides. We've heard that water, those with piped water, has gone from 79% to 89%, and you've also talked about the increases in population over that time. But one point, of course, is for those people that don't have water, and probably one should also include the non-official settlements, those people that maybe have come in as immigrants from other places. Those people that have to walk and carry water on their heads, you cannot carry more than 1 cubic meter in a month on your head. It's physically impossible. But those people are the people that need the water most. And it is obviously one of the big challenges that you've got to face in the future of how you extend to 100% of the population. I mean, there will be ways in which you may be able to do that. Of course, number one is how do you find the resources for that? A possible argument, I throw it at you now, and you'll probably throw it back in my face, is if you reduce the 6 cubic meters per month free to maybe 5, as kiloliters, yep, cubic meters, which is a kiloliter, you then have more funds from those people who are lucky enough to have a piped connection, and those funds could be used to help those people who don't have a piped connection and that are, if you like, at the bottom of society, who really need to be helped. But that's just a thought that I'm going to throw at you, and you can tackle me over coffee or whatever it is later. But can I turn to my colleagues and just ask if anyone's got any comments from this side?
Yeah, so thank you very much. It's really interesting. And as my colleague says, there are echoes actually with conversations that we're having in the UK government around water provision. As Brian says, and as you probably already know, our water is in private hands. Private companies run our water companies, but that infrastructure is seriously creaking. When you talk about leakage, it's something that we talk about endlessly in the United Kingdom about our ageing infrastructure. One thing that I would say, if you have 5 minutes, and I know you're very busy parliamentarians, is we have a water bill going through the United Kingdom government at the moment, which is looking to address some of the issues that you're raising, particularly for us as we have private water companies, looking at how we hold those water companies to account, to make sure that we are addressing some of the issues that you are very much raising, including, as Brian says, the issue of sewage in our waterways. But the issue of leakage and the issue of investing in our infrastructure, it's incredibly expensive. So the issue is, how do we find those resources for the private water companies? How do we incentivise them to invest in that infrastructure? And part of the water bill, which you might find interesting, is that the legislation going through is that the setup of the private companies, they will not be able to take money out of the companies if it is evident that they're not investing appropriately. So, you know, we have the political rhetoric, I suppose, that we will send the bosses to prison if they do not invest in the infrastructure. Now, I appreciate that here you have municipalities, and that's a slightly different setup, but it is still a conversation about how to attract investment into that water area. And we have the conversation about nationalising water companies as well, and whether that will improve things. And we have one particular water company in the United Kingdom at the moment that looks like it might actually need to be nationalised. So it'd be interesting to hear more about your municipality system. Thank you.
If I can then go on to my other, and then we can deal with the reply at the end. So Graham, please.
Thank you, and thank you very much, everyone, for the contribution there. Just to mention that in Scotland we have a different system again for water, where it is a nationalised water company, which comes with some benefits, but it does also come with some of the challenges that the chair was discussing about how you actually then have investment properly. And one of the issues that Scottish Water has in particular is transparency. So the issue mentioned before about sewage and seas and everything else we see around England, that data is not available in Scotland. So we don't actually know some elements. And Scotland, as many of you might know, it rains even more there than it does in other parts of the UK. But again, we're seeing challenges, the same challenges you're facing around infrastructure investment and also around so Scotland at the moment is actually also in a similar situation where we're actually having drought conditions and people are being asked to turn off their water and not use things, which is something that doesn't happen in Scotland very often, no matter how many hills and everything else we have where water comes down. So we do face some of the same challenges, but I think there's not a perfect model for how this is done. It's not a case saying we privatise it or nationalise it and it will suddenly work. There are challenges with all the models, and the other challenge that Scotland faces, you pay a fixed price for your water. It comes oddly through your bill from your municipality, from your local council, and it is fixed. Businesses are asked to pay on meters, but individuals pay a fixed rate every year, which again does not take into account larger amounts of water usage. So Scotland and the current Scottish Government, who is not of my own party, talk a lot about, oh, Scottish water is nationalised, therefore it is better. That is not necessarily the case, because it does come with the same challenges that we see in other parts of the UK, and indeed some of the challenges that you've laid out as well.
All right, thank you. And Syed,
Yep, 2 quick points. One is many countries that face water shortages actually get enough rain. The challenge is the retention and the distribution of that water, but also the cleaning of water. The second issue is really, adding to Graham's point and Becky's point about the challenges between nationalisation and privatisation. The original thinking behind privatising the water companies was actually the water infrastructure was in a bad state, and they assumed by privatising that, I think it cost, I think they raised 7 billion and 6 billion that would be reinvested. But that was when it was privatised. The challenge is what happened post-privatisation. And for example, we are very positive about pension funds and what they do. But in one case, a pension fund invested in one of our water companies and actually decided to take the returns for its investors, but actually leveraged the water company very heavily. Now, that was great for the pension fund and great for the pensioners, but not so good for the consumers of the water, which sometimes were the very same people. And so, as Graham said, if you nationalise, then you are, or you have a national system, you're always competing for taxpayers' money with other parts of government. So there's no perfect solution, and there's no one right way to privatise, or because a few years later we think it seems okay, but then we've learnt the lesson. So maybe you could look at what has worked and what hasn't worked in our country, as Graham and Becky have said.
Thank you. Yeah, before that, Honourable Kobe, your hand was first. But what I want to say is that although our water boards are functioning independently, government owns 100% of that. So it is a kind of a national asset for us, and the infrastructure as well, and all the infrastructure within municipalities belongs eventually to government. So our challenge is to get the private sector involved, because exactly what you've said is you can only put so much money into a entity, and then if it can't fund itself, you've got to get rid of it, like we've had with our SOEs, South African Airways, and you throw billions and billions of rands to them, and then eventually it's down the drain and you've lost that. Luckily with water, the system is of such nature that we can enforce municipalities to pay, and we've gotten methods to take some of their grants. So that for us could work, but the funding model for us, municipalities' funding model need to change. And there should be exactly what you've said now, is that if you can't spend 8% of your money on infrastructure, there must be penalties to municipalities that should be enforced by legislation, and we are looking at new legislation to make that, because all what will happen is that funds would go to buying cars and paying salaries and bonuses, and not spend the money where it should be spent. Honourable Kobe, and then Honourable Reddy.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair. And also just to acknowledge the points across, and I think one of the most important things that we have overlooked, I think in South Africa mostly, that leads us to the failure of providing water, is we have a huge skills deficit, especially within the water department. And so when I'm listening across the board and you're talking about privatization of water, you don't need to worry about the skills because the private sector must then bear that burden and must recruit the most skilled persons and who have the right expertise. Without those people, they cannot execute on their mandate. Vis-a-vis when it's nationalized in South Africa, for example, our municipalities since the dawn of democracy have not been professionalized. That means in such a technical area like water provision and water and sanitation, you don't have a technical expert. You have politicians who are entrusted with the work of executing such a technical work. And I think for us that is a problem. Just like Honorable Kaula said, we don't have a water problem in South Africa. One of our rivers, in fact, the Vaal River, just a few weeks ago, was at 100%. But as to whether 100% of the people it was supposed to service received water, that's a different story. And so also what we have is that water engineers, it takes about 8 years to produce one water engineer. And we have already 100 municipalities that are failing, that have been red flagged, that cannot produce water. So when you have when you produce talent at a scale of 1 engineer in 8 years, and you have municipalities that are failing at an accelerated rate, and also a population that continues to grow rapidly, far outstripping the supply of water, in this day and age, I think that is where we are extremely lacking in South Africa. And until we look at the capacitation of human capacity, whether we have the right infrastructure or the right policies, it's going to fail because we do not have the right people to execute that. So I think that the model of sort of privatizing it has actually ensured that you put the right people in because it has proven to be profitable. If they cannot have the right people to execute on their mandate, they will be unable to sort of continue with the contract. And that also has a double accountability to it. Thanks, Chair.
Colleagues, they've got 10 minutes left, then they must leave. So before you go, yes, sir?
Sorry, can I just make a suggestion with that last 10 minutes? If we could perhaps, if I know anything about MPs, they need their coffee. So if we could maybe move outside and just have some smaller conversations, that would be really helpful, just so we can continue that conversation over coffee, if that's okay.
Well, you were 10 minutes late from us, so
Yes,
for us, you know.
right, yeah.
Very sorry.
Thank you.
Can you maybe be short,
Yes,
honourable member?
I will. I think the first thing I wanted to say was, when I travel to European countries, in Paris, for example, you cannot drink water from the taps. They have different systems, so you drink water separately and so on. I don't know if that happens in the UK, but in South Africa, the water that you flush through your toilet is actually the drinking water as well. And that's a serious issue we need to confront. The second is I would like you to also engage other institutions. We have SALGA in South Africa, which is a body that represents municipalities that also has a division within SALGA that deals with water. You also have WISA, the Water Institute of South Africa. These are technical experts from South Africa throughout the country, from municipalities, etc. We have the Water Research Institute. These are well-functioning bodies in South Africa that you should be engaging in. But the real point I want to make, Chair, is the experience that you've had, where I think at one stage your whole system of water management was in the hands of government. And then you decided at some point to privatize it. And now you're finding that there's a problem with privatization, you want to go back. We, on the other hand, there are some in this country who are actually thinking of privatizing some of our entities and trying to bring it in through the back door, privatizing some of our state-owned institutions. And we are saying no. We cannot do that. We cannot take a critical area like water and power and put it in the hands of a private institution whose only goal is to make profit. We in government, on the other hand...
Can you please conclude?
Yes. We in government, on the other hand, we have a care and a responsibility to ensure that people get good quality water, and it's accessible and affordable to everybody. Go in Africa, and you'll see some of these French companies, what they've done. They've literally held these countries to ransom because they've taken over the provision of water services. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honourable Hekakilwe.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to be very brief and straight to the point. A lot have been said by South Africa, but what I want to know from the UK delegation is how can they assist South Africa? Because they used to be good in underground water extraction. What happened to that? And what is it that you can share with us, what we can learn from you? And then the second and the last issue, Chair, is with regard to their technological innovations. You do have a good researchers, engineers when it comes to water and sanitation. How can we share your skills with your researchers and our researchers? Because in South Africa, like we are saying, we do not have a problem of water. Our water, the quality of our water is just so bad. We can hardly clean it so that we can have a quality drinking water. Then we have to pay a lot of money to get water from Lesotho. But if we can have researchers from your side and from our side, and they share their information, we can get a solution to this challenge of water. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. You will be the last, Honourable Ditebe, and then we will have some coffee, and those who still want to discuss issues that they've got on their mind, then we can do it there.
Chair, I think there's absolutely no doubt that, yes, we have our share of problems, but I think the delegation should also take note of the fact that consciously, deliberately, the department is on course to professionalize the water and sanitation workforce in this country. And indeed, those details have been shared. Of course, we still have to go into a lot more detail about that with the committee. The other is that perhaps on the contrary, my colleague there said there are attempts to privatize. There was this past year a bill assented to by the president. As you know, he's both the head of government and head of state, so assented to that. It's called the National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency Act. So that basically means creating a state-owned company to look into the entire sector. But we intend in the medium to long-term period to spend almost R1 trillion just on infrastructure, specifically on water, 156.3 billion rand. Of course, we have to sort out budget issues, etc. Now that's in the medium term. So, and of course, we continue to provide support through such things as the Regional Bulk Infrastructure Grant, Water Services Infrastructure Grant, and that's ongoing. About 11 billion rand spent annually as far as those conditional grants are concerned. So, but lastly, I'd like to know, can you share with us any experiences with regards to the fines that are meted out to companies that are involved in the water sector? I've seen in one of the articles the fines, but these are said to be passed on to the consumer anyway. In other words, there are no punitive measures, however well-intentioned by government, against those companies, because the net effect is that they just pass that cost on. And maybe contrast that with your well-thought-out plan to provide national health insurance, and then a very critical resource like water, which in our case is constitutionalized, then you decide to privatize it. That probably goes back to the Thatcher years and all that. Thank you.
Would you like to respond to that before we have some coffee?
I think let's talk about it over coffee. I think that's probably the best idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, I would like to ask just to take a photo together with the delegation. Where would we do that?
Outside is raining.
No, not outside. Outside of the venue, yeah, or inside here? Yeah. It's fine. We're in the hands of the photographer. Colleagues, can we continue? We're still on point 6. We discussed the report, and there are 3 parties that indicated that they do not support, or they will in Parliament declare their point of view on this. Can I get a seconder that we I get a mover to approve this report? 6. We haven't concluded. You are moving. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Honourable Member.
Record our vote against, please.
Yeah. It will be minuted. Action SA, MK and EFF.
Chair, we just reserve our right to vote? No.
We're not voting on an issue. It's fine. They just opposing the report. Right?
Chair, they're abstaining, so I'm just thinking, we seem to be getting Tshwane quite right now. Why are they doing this?
Colleagues, let's move on to point 7. Tumani? Tumani?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry, Chair. While umhlonishwa uThomani SA content advisor yethu. Ubani uresearcher wethu? Angazi mina ngade ngamazi ngiyabonga.
While Tomani is our content advisor, who is now our researcher? Maybe I'm just the only one who does not know.
I looked here. Can you just repeat that, please?
The member would like to know, since Tomani is now the content advisor, she would like to know who's now the researcher.
The researching position is vacant. They will advertise and then appoint someone. On a later stage, we'll get that. Yes, Honourable Ditebe?
Chair, I propose the name of Honourable Kaula for the researcher.
Would you accept that nomination?
I do accept, yes. I'm Honourable Kaula. I do accept. Thanks.
You must remember the salary is half the salary now. Tumani, you can continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. This is the committee report on annual reports of the water boards for the year 2023-2024. So it's quite an old report that was presented to the committee on the 1st of April 2025. So the introduction deals with the legislative framework within which the boards were established, as well as the reporting lines within the Public Finance Management Act. And as it stands, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 water boards for that year. And this includes the amalgamated Val Central, as well as Umungeni Utukela, which are necessarily new boards, but they were just amalgamated. And section 2 deals with the overview of the performance for that year. And as you can see, the Utukela, Umgeni Utukela, Randwater, as well as Mahalis were the ones that are performing insofar as achieving targets are concerned. That is in comparison with the previous year, but you can see there is an improvement when you look at 23 and 24. In terms of there is table 2 on page 4, which shows the actual water volumes that were sold, including the actual revenue generated And all in all, the total revenue generated for the year 23-24 was 38 billion. Then we move to Table 3, which deals with water boards capital expenditure. And the total capex for the year 2023-24 was 5.6 billion, which is slightly higher than the previous year, which was 3.8 billion. And the section 3 deals with the municipal water debts as well as the debt relief program. And as members would remember that we have dealt with this issue extensively last year, to a point where now we got the solution to some of the debt issues relating to the water boards from municipalities. Then I think I will move on to section 4, which deals with irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. And as table 6 indicates, the irregular expenditure as well as fruitless and wasteful expenditure per water board and the reasons for that expenditure. Then in terms of observation and recommendations, the committee stressed the importance of having water boards more involved in municipal infrastructure management to reduce water losses and ensure maintenance and upgrades of the water reticulation infrastructure. Emphasis was put on the importance of addressing the issue of non-revenue water. And the committee also requested the information on the merger of Umgen Water and Mhlatuzi Water boards, which should be reviewed to determine whether this is effective and its impact on the service outcomes. The committee expressed concerns on operational and financial challenges faced by Mahalis and Val Central boards and asked the department to urgently address the issues to ensure their financial sustainability. So majority of some of these issues that were raised here then were responded to starting from 5.12 up to 5.17, where they indicate that the legislative reforms are currently underway to separate water services authorities from water service providers through a licensing system in line with the upcoming amended Water Services Act. So that is to deal with the issues of inefficiencies in local government. So that legislation is currently in the process or in its way to Parliament. So we shall receive it soon. 5.18, the committee, having considered the responses by the department, resolved that the minister should provide written responses on the following issues, that is the governance issues at Amatola Water Board, including the appointment of interim board and ongoing investigations, report on the exact costs of the delayed bulk water infrastructure projects, Rand Water Board water services contract in Zanzibar. So we have received this response to the governance issues at Amatola Water Board, which was shared with the members. And the report on exact costs of delayed bulk water infrastructure, this one we are still waiting. And the information on the Rand Water Service contract in Zanzibar. So I'm not quite sure whether our secretariat has received any reports to that regard. But insofar as Amatola Water Board is concerned, we have received the response from the minister. And that is the end of the report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. That's the report. Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if the report is similar to the previous report, where it says report to be noted. If that's the and that then means that it doesn't go to the House. If that's the case, we would like the report to change to be considered so that it can go to the House for consideration and debate.
Yeah, that's fine. We have decided both reports. We can do that. Honourable Ditebe?
Chairperson, I thought I should say this, and perhaps this information that I'm sharing here, sorry, has yet to reach the committee. On the basis of the decision we took, that we need to keep a very close eye on the performance of the various water boards, in particular Mahalis and Val Central, purely from a viability point of view. But it would seem to me that while we initially harbored fears that the two water boards in May of this year might go bankrupt, for now that seems to have been averted with, first of all, the initial injection of 50 million rand into the coffers of the two water boards, but also because of some improved payment records, in particular in respect of, for example, the Mangau Metro, which significantly, helped to increase the financial position of the Val Central Water, so that it could at the very least break even and not be at the risk of going bankrupt. Having said so, I think, as I said earlier, we need to continue to provide that support to all the water boards, notably those two. I think there's also something that we will have to find out about payment that municipalities in the Northwest have made to Mahalis, and what the financial, what is happening or what has happened with those particular funds vis-a-vis those water service authorities and the district municipality there. That's all that I'd like to say. So I'm raising this to say there are times where there will be apparent time lags, but in the end, we seem to be making progress. So it's a credit in the main, I'd say, to this committee, but certainly a credit to the department insofar as it is a very key entity that we interact with, Chair. I thought I should make those remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Reddy?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my blood boils when I hear members say there's progress, because there's certainly no progress. It's a pity that you're not with communities right now. I'm not only talking about underserviced areas. I'm not talking about communities that have not had water before. I'm talking about communities that have water, that have got infrastructure, but are unable to access water. There are communities like in Queensborough and suburbs that pay for water, that have to stand for hours waiting for water tankers to arrive, and where water tankering companies are holding these municipalities to ransom. So we are fooling ourselves if we want to believe that there's progress. This report, Chair, the DG of Water should have been present here in this meeting so that we could engage on issues here. Now, you know what's going to happen? We're going to take something which is really a nuts and bolts issue, take it to Parliament. And I was hoping that we could engage on some of the issues in this report, which is damning, absolutely damning. Let me just cover 3 areas. One, the report is saying that the water that we are drinking in this country is not safe. That's what it is saying. The water we are drinking in this country is not safe. And if anybody wants to tell me that that is progress, they're living in utopia or living in Kaku land, because it's not true. The second thing, we are being told that wasteful and irregular expenditure in this department has ballooned to 11 billion rands. 11 billion rands. What is good about that? I want the DG to come in and answer to us. How is it that wasteful expenditure, irregular expenditure in this department has reached unprecedented levels, and we say that this is progress? Then we look at projects such as the Guyani Bulk Water Supply Scheme and the War on Leaks program, which
Honourable
this
Reddy,
department has spent
may I just stop
billions of rands for. They have been failed, and we don't see any consequence management for this.
Honourable Reddy.
Where is the investigation, Chair?
No, wait a bit. I hear your frustration. This is not what this report is about. It's about the water boards. And what the honourable member has talked about, there's progress, is on payment, on the payment issues of water boards where they should not collapse. We did discuss this with the department present. You could have asked those questions.
We
but
did.
what you are...
We did.
We did.
Yes.
But this report is only about the water boards, not about all the other issues that I agree with you 100%. And there's no member here that will disagree with you with that. What the honourable member said, and I don't want to speak on his behalf, but what he said, and that's what I understood, that we had a report last year to say that 6 months, or earlier in this year, that 6 months from now, the water boards will collapse. And then we as a committee, we stepped up to the plate to say, no longer we will allow this. We will make sure that we get a mechanism in place. We invited National Treasury, which made a representation, a final representation to us on the 17th of November last year. And the first monies were taken from municipalities' equitable share to pay. And that's the progress that the honourable member is talking about, not the experience what residents may have on the ground. And also, let's be frank about this. It's the wrong forum if the community is not satisfied with the services. They should take this up with the local municipality and with COCTA. And I don't know how long we're going to allow to be manipulated by communities. We supply bulk water. If I supply Maribeng, for instance, with bulk water, and they cannot reticulate that, it cannot be my mistake. It must be their mistake. They must take the brunt for that.
Chair, with respect, I was on the floor. And I was going to talk to the water boards.
No,
I'm coming to the water boards.
But let's not.
You didn't give me a chance.
Just speak on the report.
Yes,
of the water boards.
I'm speaking on the report. So it's a serious misnomer if we think that water quality, abuse, the privatization, and so on has got nothing to do with this community, with this committee, because water boards are our.
Sorry to interrupt, Honourable Reddy. If mangimlalela la uchair, ngiyayizwa lezi zinto esikhala ngazo. Lana sakhuluma ngenkinga yama water board. Like eThekwini ingane zesikole njengoba ngikhuluma nawe nje aziwathola amanzi. Ngenxa ukuthi bona bathu government uowa ama water board umngeni. Yingakho nje basikhuluma la into le esiphezulu kwayo lokho kunye ngiyakuzwa but lana inkinga ekhona yenye indlela lekufuna sibheke ukuthi uzokhulunywa njani phela umngeni na ukhala ngalonto ukuthi uma omasipala abawakhokheli bona amanzi lawa okufanele ngabe basupplya ama clinic ibhedlela ikole mangaqamba manga nje honorable register 96 masipala e1 ngcine mina bekhala bethi baze bathi bayacela ongenani babanike noma half kulo ka 500,000 ukuze baqhubeke bakwazi ukusebenza. Ezinye izinto emine ngicabanga ngifuna sixoxe ngazo lana. Yabo. Angisho ukuthi ngiyamvala. Ngiyabonga.
You can translate.
When I listen to the chair, we are discussing issues of water boards here. At eThekwini, they say the government owes the Umngeni Water Board money, and the municipality does not pay those that have to supply water to the clinics and schools. There are schools that have no water. Ms. Honorable Reddy and I come from the same municipality, and the issue is that the water boards have not been paid, and some institutions had been even asking that they could be at least given half of what the municipality owes in terms of the quantity of water. So I'm not trying to cut him off, but he knows that we come from the same place.
Honourable Reddy, can you conclude now on the water boards, please?
Thank you, Chair. You know, I don't want to be stifled. I don't want to be stifled because this is our opportunity to come here and articulate the views and the frustrations of our communities. And this is not political. We have a responsibility. We get paid as MPs to come here and speak for our communities. We cannot be told that this is not our responsibility, this is municipal, etc. We've got wall-to-wall coverage in this country with water boards. Water boards, we can see they are failing. Water boards are failing. If we see that water quality in the country is diminishing, I served on a water board, and we made sure that as a water board, we wanted to see consistency in terms of water quality with all municipalities. So in other words, as the water was going out as bulk water to municipalities, we were the ones that played the police to ensure that every resident that gets water from our bulk supply was to decent standards. And what we find today is not what's happening here. So I don't want to hear members say that we are progressing, because there can't be progress when the people in this country are frustrated with water. We're in a water crisis in this country. For God's sake, I'm appealing to you, Chairperson, and members of this committee. Let us go out and meet the communities. Let's go to those clinics and the schools that don't have water. Let's go meet those communities and give you a reality check of what is happening on the ground.
Honourable Reddy, this is the wrong place to discuss this. We already discussed this. We are now dealing with a report on a discussion we had. You should have brought this to when the DG and the Minister and all the water boards were here. What you are telling us now, you are fighting yourself, because that was the discussion, the minutes we are trying to approve here, the report was on a meeting we already had, where we already had these discussions. You should have acted that way when the Minister was here, the DG, the water boards, to get the answers. You can't fight the committee now because you did not bring that up in that committee meeting.
That is incorrect, because the issues were raised there.
No, I'm not going to allow dialogue now.
All I'm simply doing is, I want to, I just want to stress the importance of this issue. Let's not leave it there. Let's pursue it.
100%. Honourable Stanley, you were first. Please, let's just stick to what we are here to do now. We're not here to debate it.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not even about to debate. I only wanted to make a proposal that since the Minister has mentioned that there's 105 municipalities that are dysfunctional, that would request that we have an urgent meeting, if physically it's okay, so that we discuss those 105 municipalities and they present to us their remedial actions, so that we can be able to play oversight in as far as those remedial actions are concerned. Thank you.
That's fine, Honourable. I agree with that. We can put that into the in the program. Honourable Ditebe.
Yeah, Chair, I'd like to really propose, before I say that, I'd like to agree with you. It doesn't make sense that any of the members should be fighting the committee when all of us have demonstrated, even before the arrival, by the way, of Honourable Reddy in this committee, we've demonstrated very consistently. We are the one committee that has asked almost 450 questions And by the way, the rest of the other committees are copying from us to deal very decisively, effectively, in detail with matters arising from their own committees. It's a very useful model, and this committee has never, ever failed to hold the executive to account. So I'm just appealing that, you know, we mustn't abuse the freedom of speech in the committee, in the sense that aspersions are
Order,
being
Chair.
cast.
I'm not going to be lectured by this man about my
You're out
right
of
to
order.
speak.
He's not
Please.
speaking to you. So you're out of order.
Yeah,
Go on,
so
Honourable Member.
aspersions mustn't be cast on any of the members of the committee or the committee.
Honourable Member, please.
Yeah, Chair, aspersions must not be cast on us. We know what we are doing. And as a matter of fact, this committee has actually been able to find its footing very solidly to operate as one single whole by holding the executive to account. That one I know, Chair. That one I know. Thanks.
Furthermore, we are one of the few committees that force National Treasury to come back with a plan. We don't want to hear about your challenges. Come back with a plan. How are we going to make sure municipalities pay water boards? So I think we've got this report before us. I will welcome Honourable Reddy. I would really welcome the conversation we had now, the way you want to set your questions. It should be directed to the DG and the Minister. That is our role, not to fight amongst each other or disagree amongst each other. So before us now is this report that we had a meeting on, and we've got to adopt this report. Can I get someone to propose the adoption of this report? It's fine. Honourable Dlelanga.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. I rise to propose the acceptance of this report as presented.
Yeah, it will go there. Can I get a seconder? Honourable Ditewe.
I second, Honourable.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And who wants to note their objections against this report? Who wants to note? Honourable Member.
Ngibonge Chair. Mina njenge-EFF. Although I'm sorry, akufanele ngithi EFF because we are government.
Understand? Who else?
Ngiseceleni kuyona ngihambisani nayo ngenxa yokuthi ngifuna mina into ecacile ama-water board sazi kwenzekala nakhokhele ngiyabonga.
I oppose this this report. I do not agree with it because I want us to know what's happening with the water boards, and they should also be paid. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else wants to minute the objection? MK?
I did say right at the start.
Okay,
we
no, it's
object.
fine. I just want to make sure.
We object.
Anybody else?
We just wanted to go to the House for debate.
Okay, thank you very much. We note that. With that, objections, would you minute that in as well and send this report to Parliament, to the House for debate? Colleagues, that is the last point on the agenda.
Also, nami so debate Parliament. Ngiyabonga.
Yeah, that is the last point on the agenda. Thank you very much. I want to say something that happened to me, and it was about in 1996 or 97 in the municipality. I served in the executive committee, and we, as an executive committee, thought it well to go and have a sit-in at Popo Malefi's office. because we were financially bankrupt and everybody owed us money. And then we were sitting on a table, a round table in his office. He was the premier of the province. And he was sitting behind, he came in, he sat behind his desk, opening his post letters and stuff. So the chairperson of the committee said to him, but this is our problem, we want you to help us. And he was not even looking up. He said, listen, you've got your problems, you go and sort out your problems. I've got my own problems, I'll sort it out myself. So I wanted to say that to them, that they've got their own problems, they should sort that out themselves. We'll do our own sorting out of our problems. But thank you very much for this meeting. The following meetings...
But Chair, before you close...
I will, just give me a second.
Because now about journalists,
So our meetings for the next few weeks will be virtual. Just take note of that. Thank you very much for attending this meeting. It's much appreciated, and the meeting is adjourned.